What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. Sorry, I'm a little late here. Had to get some juice in the laptop. It was completely dead when I went to turn it on because we had a busy day yesterday. We're gonna get to everything regarding the restraining order that was issued for Megan Thee Stallion. Tory Lanez. Oops, back talk here. And yeah, so everybody, welcome to the live. This is my YouTube channel. We're building it up. We've got some memberships going on here. Hopefully we can get maybe some more members in here today. There's a big month in LA. I'm going to be covering ASAP Rocky's assault trial later this month. So that's a big one. There's a pretrial conference on the 15th, and then the trial starts the next week. So here comes drama. Thank you for saying hi, and thank you for your membership and all your support all the time. I definitely appreciate it. Everybody say hi. Tell me where you're from. We'll get into the news here. I spent all day in court. I mean, we weren't in the courtroom the whole time. It was really actually a pretty short hearing. It was 45 minutes total in court maybe, but we got there in the morning and weren't sure if he was going to hear it that in the morning or in the afternoon. And then right at like 11:45 or so, we got word that it wouldn't be till 1:30. So came back after that, but it was an all day wait for it. So Leslie, hi from California. Hello. Yeah, California's really got it right now. I did notice it's almost pretty clear skies in downtown Los Angeles, not nearly like it was, because I'm thankfully not in an evacuation zone being downtown, but I was surrounded by the fires. We had the Altadena fire out in the Pasadena area, and then of course the Pacific Palisades fire on the other side of LA on the west side. So a lot of people in the legal community are affected by it. Today looks like the first day that's not just when you walk outside, you can definitely tell there's fires going on. It seems kind of clear downtown, kind of like just looks like typical like LA smog, but there's so many people affected by this. So many people have lost their homes. I know Judge Pregerson, he's a federal judge. I heard that his house burned down, and I mean, that's a lot of working class people. I mean, a lot of people of all different income statuses were affected by this, but especially that Pacific Palisades area is, really nice, expensive homes, and a lot of attorneys live there, and along Malibu and everything. So a lot of people are affected by it, and you just kind of get that feeling when you're walking around. I mean, life is still going on. Like there was still activity at the courthouse, and when I went to Judge Bloom's courtroom for this Megan Thee Stallion restraining order hearing, he had like 10 other cases he was hearing, maybe more than that. So there were other attorneys there too, but there's just kind of this like eerie feeling in LA right now, because I mean, not only are people just kind of freaked out by the fires, but the devastation of losing all that stuff. I mean, I feel terrible for people. I mean, I don't own a home and I don't even have that much stuff, but I'd be devastated if I lost all my stuff. So I feel terrible for those people that are dealing with that. And it's like still like life goes on, they still have jobs to work and everything. So I think the next, like, it's going to be weird. It's going to be a weird year in LA as people try to recover from this. I feel bad. Hello from LA. Yeah. Hello, Megan, the reporter from LA. Watching from London, England. All right. We've got an international presence. Good morning from Seattle. Nice. I've got some friends up in Seattle. We were all in Spokane together, and now they live over there. Go Mariners. And see if we can get up to 30,000 before the end of January. And yeah, it's been crazy, but we did have the hearing yesterday. I mean, nobody mentioned the fires during the hearing, but I went in the morning not really knowing what to expect. I mean, I knew there was a hearing that morning, but I didn't know if she was going to testify. I mean, I didn't think she'd be there, and she wasn't there in person. But when I walked in, she was on the screen, because there's a video screen that people do appearances through, and she was waiting to testify, and her lawyer was there. But the judge is actually retiring next week. The 17th is his last day, and he had other cases, and apparently they just filed a lot of documents. They filed like a transcript of her testimony from the trial, and they just filed it, I think, last night or that morning or something. So the judge was saying, well, I'm assuming you want me to look at this stuff. When I'm making my decision, I'm not sure I'm going to have time to do that. And then wondering if Lanez's lawyer should have time to look at it too. But they just decided, Lanez's lawyer said they were fine with going forward today, and he didn't need time to review all this stuff. I mean, it's something they were already familiar with. And Megan's lawyer, Mari Henderson, emphasized that they really wanted to proceed that day, and that Meghann was ready to testify and share her story, and that's a hard thing for her to do. And this is Mari. This is the attorney for Meghann, who is appearing via video. She had an associate in court too, but the associate didn't say anything in court. She was just like there taking notes. But Mari was the attorney of record and is the one who's been filing a lot of the stuff. She works with Alex Spiro on stuff. Like her name's on some of the Jay-Z filings and various things. So people checking in. Thanks for checking in, guys. Yeah, I was talking about the fires earlier, and fortunately, I'm not in an evacuation zone, and I haven't had like property affected by it. I do have a friend his grandma, and actually I was just there a couple months ago for a dinner. His grandma has a condo in Pacific Palisades, and it's been in their family forever. It's really nice. They love having like hosting dinners there and stuff, and I'm sure it's gone. Like there's no way that it survived, but that's really shitty. But other than that, I don't have much of a personal connection to it, but it's just it's terrible. And I feel like as weeks go on, you're going to learn more about your personal connections to it. You're going to learn more about people who have who lost everything. I mean, I already know, like an attorney friend that I talked to on Instagram Messenger was saying that she has friends who've lost houses in Pasadena. And I think a lot of judges, like a lot of people in the judicial community, are affected by this. I know, like I said earlier, one federal judge at least had his house burned down in Pacific Palisades. And I saw an attorney, Gary Dordick. He's kind of a well-known personal injury attorney in LA. He posted that he lost his beachfront home in Malibu. So it's terrible. And just some of the stuff I was seeing on the news last night, the interviews with the people, God, my heart just goes out to them. This woman was just like, yeah, I'm shattered. I mean, she just lost everything. It's like, oh, God, that's terrible. And you just wonder, it's only going to get worse in California. Like the former court clerk who actually copy edits my stuff, she and her husband moved from California they're like just outside of DC. And there's a ton of reasons they did it. Her son is in that area, I think, so they're closer to him and everything. But she said one of the reasons they left California is because of the wildfires. It's only going to get worse. I mean, there's a lot of towns, like the city of Laguna Beach has always been on high fire alert, and it could be a lot like Pacific Palisades if anything happened. So yeah, it's a little unclear. I got to watch all the press conference. I know there's been reports of, people setting fires here and there, but I don't think there's any credible report that those big fires that burned all these homes were actually man-made. I mean, the conditions for it were completely ripe. The power lines were going crazy and sparking, and all the winds and everything. But yeah, six fires. The one that was really scary, because I was watching the news, because really, I mean, I hate on TV local news a lot, but this is the time when they really shine. Like, you can't beat local TV news reports in a big city when there's a disaster like this, especially when they've got the helicopter and everything. But I was watching ABC7 the other night when the fire started breaking out in Runyon Canyon, and you could see it like spreading to the homes and everything. I was like, wow. They were able to control that though, and as far as I know, it didn't burn any homes, but the other ones did. But yeah. Anyway, back to the hearing. Like I said, nobody said anything about the fires during the hearing, but it's kind of just hanging over everything. And when I looked up the judge, I saw that he was a Santa Monica city councilman for so long, so he must know a lot of people affected. But like I said, we got there in the morning. It was scheduled for 8:30. They didn't even let anyone in the courtroom until 9. And that's like, they've got like 11, 12 other cases on the calendar. Although it's not a huge crowd, it's a pretty big crowd, but a lot of the attorneys appear via video, so it's not as big as it could be, but they still allow remote video appearances in civil court in LA. But I was wondering what they do with the judge, because or how this judge would approach this, because I tweeted this yesterday about the judge, because in California you can recuse a judge for any reason under 170.6 in the very beginning of your case. Like, Lanez didn't choose to do that with Judge Hereford, because why would he? When you look on paper, Judge Hereford looks like he'd be, a pretty pro defense judge. But I'm gonna say right now, like, this case is so stupid. And in the first of all, Lanez's attorney was terrible. I mean, talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. The guy's oh man. But this is a really good example of like the level of maturity in the comments that we get here. I mean, this is just some dumbass on the internet. MO. I mean, he's just pathetic moron, just like talking shit on the internet. And that's all this is. And like this morning look at this guy. Look at this guy. Here he comes again. I'm just gonna ban him and delete him, and I should highlight his comments. But it's like, dude, the real world does not take you seriously. Like, seriously. And he's just some fake online account. And most of it's on Twitter, because here you can just ban these really easy. But when you go on Twitter, you'll see all of this. And so many of the accounts are just obviously fake. I mean, it's just troll accounts set up by, Tory's team, or he has like a group of supporters that set up these accounts. It's freaking pathetic, guys. Like, you guys are really pathetic. Like, it's just, and the real world is fucking tired of it. Like, whatever, But that's just the level of discourse you get with the Tory Lanez case. And all he's doing, I mean, he's so freaking stupid, but all these people are doing is tanking his chance of parole. I mean, his behavior right now and everything that he's saying in these calls and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just like he has a chance of parole like earlier than 10 years. It's September 2029, but none of this stuff is gonna matter. But this was the original judge on the case. And they don't have to give a reason when they sign a 170.6 form recusing a judge. This is the attorneys. It's just you get one 170.6 recusal per case, and it has to be pretty soon after a judge is assigned. So she was the beginning judge on it. And because they don't have to like write their exact reason, they just have to say, we have reason to believe she won't be fair moving forward. We don't know if the attorneys at Quinn have experience with her, or one of them just did a restraining order hearing with her and thought that she didn't apply the law right or something like that. So we have no idea. But the risk with 170.6 is they're like 400 something LA Superior Court judges or something. So once you get one recused, like, you can definitely do that. It's kind of a no questions asked thing. If you just fill out this form, you'll get the judge off the case. But that's your only shot. So then when you get a new judge, you don't have any options. You can't 170.6 them. So that's what happened here is they got Melanie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I thought it was funny that people were like bringing up a picture of Judge Bloom at a Kamala Harris rally and being like, oh, well, he's a Democrat. It's like, well, the other judge is a Democrat too. I mean, find me a judge in LA Superior Court who's been appointed in the last like however many years that isn't a Democrat. She's clearly a Democrat. She worked at the ACLU. So I don't know. Like I said, they don't have to actually state why they think the judge would be biased. They just have to sign a form saying they think that she wouldn't, fairly apply the law or whatever. But so they got this guy. And when I first saw Judge Bloom, I was like, oh God, this guy's a political hack. I mean, you read his bio and it's kind of blatant. Like, he got appointed he's retiring after 2 years. He gets appointed to the bench kind of at the very end of his career by his, Democrat supporters governor because he can tap into the state retirement fund. I mean, there's a lot of reasons he would want to be on the bench and only serve for 2 years before getting into retirement. So when I saw it, I was like, I don't know if this is like going to be good for him, but you just never know. I don't know anything about Judge Bloom at all. But I think one thing that really worked legally in her favor is when Mari said that there should have been a 10-year criminal protective order issued at sentencing, but for some reason it wasn't done. So that's the first I'd heard of that. And I think legally that mattered a lot to somebody like Judge Bloom. And I know there's a lot of questions about, well, what does this actually allow him to do? And not like, can he mention her at all? Can he mention her in songs? And it kind of remains to be seen. But I think it's for sure, like, this is a good tool for her lawyers. Like, anything he does moving forward, they'll be able to litigate over this. And if we see some kind of petition for a restraining order violation, or I'm not quite sure what the phrasing is on that, they've definitely set the foundations and the blocks in place for bringing more things on them. And I don't know, I just hope it dies down, because you hear her testify and you just realize how real it is. This isn't just some fake person who doesn't have the guts to post their real name or face, talking shit on the internet. And I saw one account that was just spreading nasty stuff, and it's just all about, free Tory and Meg. And you look at the account, clearly a fake troll account, and they said they were from Butte, Montana. I'm like, oh yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure. But the difference between that and actually testifying in court and putting your face and name out there, and it's just you just realize how much real life is and how fake the internet is. And I don't know, I just wonder if we're getting to the point in society where we're peaking on the internet. Maybe we're all just going to back off from it and realize that it's dictating too much of us. But Corey Love, thanks for saying hi. And Red, hello from Miami. I hope all's good in Miami. And yes, here comes Drama says, if you forgot, hit that like button. Show us some love. And yes, the internet can for sure be trash. But it's funny because it's such a just small little sect in this case that just obsesses over it. And you look at how many of these accounts are clearly fake and like being run by either one person or some kind of like, company that advertise, oh, we'll do all this stuff for you. It's like, he's clearly behind it. I mean, he's funding a lot of this stuff. And I got to say, Michael Hayden, his lawyer, was bad. I mean, he admitted in this will be interesting to see what happens in the federal case with Milagro, but look at him admitting here that Milagro has a business relationship with Tory's dad. Yeah, he said, or Henderson said Thursday that Cooper has a business relationship with Tory's dad. And yeah, I think Hayden said that too. He's like, we've just seen that he doesn't have any contact with Tory, but he has some kind of relationship with Tory's dad, some kind of payments or something. It's like, okay, like, it's just not, he definitely didn't give the judge any reason not to grant this motion here, or not to grant the restraining order. But it's still, obviously, it's still a question of what can he do and what can he do. Is another judge, because with this guy retiring next week, it's going to be another judge. Are they going to consider anything written, like a song written about her? Is that going to be a violation of the restraining order? And it says that he's banned from directly or indirectly contacting her, including through electronic means. But I think the argument could be made that just writing a song about his own experience or something with the shooting is not contacting her. But I think that's all stuff that we're going to see come up this year, because now that they have this order in place, her lawyers can make arguments that what he's doing here and there is a violation of the restraining order. And it'll be a different judge who hears it. But Like I said, I think it mattered a lot that there should have been a 10-year protective order issued at sentencing, and Mari said that there wasn't. So I think the judge just saw this as like, what's if something like this should have been in place, it's not. What's the harm in doing a 5-year restraining order? And I know people are wondering why it's only 5 years, because really he could be in prison when it expires, because he's eligible for a parole hearing in September 2029, but that doesn't mean he's going to get one in September 2029. So he could still be locked up in January 9th, 3030 or 2030 when this expires. But I think now that they have one in place, it might be fairly easy for her to get it extended when it does expire. So, like I said, this is kind of the building blocks for everything in place. But one thing, I mean, it's just the only place that this is considered controversial, that he shot her, and that people just don't understand. And they talk about, like, there's so much focus on, like, oh, reasonable doubt or something, which when you actually go into a courtroom and cover trials, it's like, yeah, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. But as Christian Adkins said in the YSL trial in his closing argument, you don't go searching for doubt, you go searching for truth. So I mean it's just an inherent way of, like, approaching this that the whole internet free Tory crowd is completely detached from. Like, they just don't seem to understand that this was not a controversial case. He has no appellate chances whatsoever. His phone call is what completely sunk him. I mean, there's just the only real controversy kind of exists in their made up heads. And I know there are a lot of, like, real genuine people posting, but like I said, a lot of it is also driven by bots and, like, fake accounts on Twitter and people who don't have the guts to actually post their own photo and post their name and go on a live like this and talk. They'll just make up a name and talk online. So obviously this order does not restrain them in any way. They can keep doing that, but if there's any kind of connection to Lanez, it could become problematic. But here, we had to wait outside the courtroom for the judge to enter the order, and then when it came out, we just Nancy from Rolling Stone was the only other reporter there, but we took pictures of it. Here it is. This is the front page of it. But it's just a form that you fill out, a pretty basic form. So there's a lot that remains to be seen here about, you know, what actually is true and what isn't. Somebody asked if it's true that he's been getting into some trouble in prison. And I did hear Mari say yesterday that he had a contraband phone in prison. So the subpoenas that they're doing to, like, the Zelle records, the prison phone calls, they had to have subpoenaed his prison retirement or prison discipline records, which they could definitely get through a subpoena. So they had to have seen through that he had a contraband phone, because, I mean, how else would they know that? So that indicates he's gotten into some trouble for that. But one thing I should be able to get is jail calls. So I think, and that's the thing. Here Comes Drama says, I think everyone has a phone. Yeah, I mean, when you look up the stats, I think the prison officials, California Department of Corrections, seized it was like 6,600 phones in 2023. And that's just the number of phones that they seized. Apparently in 2019, it was like over 10,000 phones that were taken and seized in prison, like illegal contraband phones. So it's pretty common, but it's definitely like a mark on your record. It's not gonna go anywhere. Somebody asked why the judge is retiring after 2 years on the bench. Yeah, like I said, when I saw it, I was like, oh man, this judge is a political hack, because he's a longtime Democrat. God, he was an assemblyman. He was an assemblyman for a long time too. He has tons of connections in Sacramento, and there's every reason that he would want to be a judge for just the retirement stuff. There's a lot of state retirement stuff he can tap into. So, yeah, you know, at the very end of his career, he gets a bench appointment and then bounces out. But see, and you don't get this covering any case, but it's like really low level. Why does this guy have to say fuck up typo fuck up bitch. Shut up, dude. Don't be nasty on here and like use profanity and shit. All right? Only I'm the one who can use profanity. But it's like, seriously, why are people just so nasty to each other? Like, somebody says, I truly hope he wasn't using that phone to harass Meghann. And that's what Mari brought up, is with him having a contraband phone. I mean, they have his prison phone calls, and they can see in these prison phone calls that he's talking about Milagro and directing how to word the statement about their representation of Milagro, which, by the way, when you read this, it's like, these guys are absolute morons. It is hilarious that they think any of this matters and that like there's some kind of like important entity. Like I said, the detachment from this kind of just like dumb internet society in real life is like quite there. And if they just keep sending Michael Hayden to all these hearings, they're going to keep losing like every single one of them, no matter what. But wow. But back to the comment about, I hope he wasn't using that phone to harass Meghann. Mari brought up that, we don't know, because they're able to subpoena the prison phone records because there's, a record of the California Department of Corrections, but they don't have, other than just knowing that he got caught with a contraband phone, they have no way of getting those records, or at least I don't think. Maybe they're trying to figure out like if there's a service provider or something that they could subpoena for that. But I think the whole nature of those contraband phones is they're pretty untraceable. So she brought that up in court, that like, who knows what else he's doing here. But it was, it like I said, it struck me to hear her testimony. I hadn't heard her talk. I mean, we heard her testify in court. And then she's done some she did the magazine interview, and I saw her talk about this on an Instagram live, just kind of go on a rant. But just seeing her talk about this in person and everything, it's just, you just are reminded that this is real, and it's like so real to her, and it matters so much. And part of me just wants to, I wish I could just tell her that it's like, these are just morons on the internet. She's so much bigger than this, and like mainstream society like knows who she is, and the story of what happened is not like controversial in mainstream society, but it's this internet world, and that makes it so just everyday interventions and stuff. I don't know. I felt for her listening to her testify about how this is how this has mattered. But I think a lot. I mean, obviously, people on the internet, and she was saying like she knows people on the internet and people around the world can talk to her or can talk about her and say stuff about her. And it's not that, it's just the constant, you weren't even shot, you're a liar, free Tory, that is being driven by him. It's like, there has to be something about that. And while I don't think it's ever going to go away, she said something about that, about how she doesn't think she's ever going to find true peace. At least people can talk, can stop doing this. And I think there'd be so much, it would matter if Lanez would chill out a little bit. I mean, he's just driving all of this stuff. And I just think it is going to change a lot when this year, I'm assuming it'll be this year, when the appellate court rejects his appeal. Because that's just a guarantee that, I mean, you don't even really have to read his appeal. You can just know something about the trial and the sentence to know that he has no legal issues that are ever going to drive any kind of new trial or resentencing or anything like that. His appeal is absolutely dead on arrival. So when that gets rejected this year, maybe the approach from him will change, because I mean, he's not going to be in prison his entire life. Like, it's a 10-year sentence and he is eligible for parole. And if he would clean up and, stop harassing his victim, show a little bit of remorse and rehabilitation, he might be able to get parole. But if he keeps on doing this, he's not going to. And I think Megan's team is definitely trying to build the building blocks for, if they could find a way to get him charged with another crime and add more time to his sentence, they would do it. So I don't know. Hopefully he just chills out, because I think this is pretty serious and it's not going away. Like I said, it remains to be seen what exactly would be allowed under here. But I think Megan's lawyers have shown that he's totally willing to. They're totally willing to go after it. But one thing I thought was interesting was we asked Hayden afterward about the cap. Nancy did about the cap video where he's a butcher chopping horse legs and stands outside a courtroom and grabs a microphone and raps. And Hayden was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Yeah, that was a little harsh. I guess you could call it speech because he was expressing himself through art. It's something that he did construct. And I don't think he'll do something like that again." I can't speak for him. I think that nothing like that is going to come about. I think he wants to mind his business. She wants to mind her business. It's like, well, okay, but it is unclear if another judge would consider, what is another judge going to consider a violation of the restraining order? And I think that is something that we're going to be seeing play out this year because, like I said, Megan's lawyers have definitely shown that they're willing to go to court for this. And if he does anything else, they'll definitely hear about it. But Lanez's lawyer, who, by the way, was just terrible. I mean, he's a nice guy, so I feel kind of bad like saying that about him, but it's like, okay, come on. I mean, this was probably the third time he's ever even argued in court. Who knows? But he kept mentioning the lawsuit against Milagro, that there's all these issues to be worked out there because Megan's lawyers had cited the lawsuit against Milagro in their own filing. But I mean, it was just a judicial notice thing where it's like, hey, by the way, we've got this other lawsuit here. Their entire case isn't about that lawsuit, but Hayden was really focused on that lawsuit or just talking about Florida. I don't know. He didn't really seem to make any sense, but Mari brought up that's a separate case from this. So the judge didn't ask about the case in Florida or anything like that. But but Henderson said Thursday that Cooper has a business relationship with, and it might have been, I think it was Hayden that said that. And a subpoena revealed several payments from him to her. Lanez also discussed Cooper and phone calls from prison obtained by Megan's lawyers, and Lanez approved a statement about the defamation lawsuit and directed his lawyers to represent her. And so they included in the filing a transcript of calls between Tory and Caesar McDowell, which, gosh, you have to remind yourself that Unite the People is actually a registered 501c3 nonprofit. Lakia, thank you for saying hi. Happy Friday to everybody. I'm excited. I've got a few things to do this morning, and then I'm headed to a lunch down in Orange County with a friend. Haven't seen in a while. We usually get together and talk about cases. Retired judge. I covered a lot of cases that he did in Orange County, so it should be fun. Somebody wants to know, how does parole and him being deported after his sentence work? I'm not sure. They didn't really get into that. The prosecutors didn't in his criminal case because they're not the immigration people. But I definitely think that there's issues with that. I mean, Alex Bott, one of the DAs, did say that he's pretty much guaranteed to be deported. I mean, he's a Canadian citizen and he's been convicted in the United States of felonies. So I think it's pretty much a given that he's going to get out, or he's going to get kicked out of the country. But and then it's not helping what he's doing right now. Like you might think it's kind of bolstering the internet people to keep harassing her, but it is absolutely not helping his parole chances. And he's setting himself up for violations. Possibly, he could really screw himself over here if he keeps this up. Like, this restraining order is really not good for him, and he needs to tone it down a little bit. But yeah, and somebody says, Megan, you're giving them too much credit. Even after the appeal is denied, he'll keep going. Yeah, but I do think there's some. I mean, he has to want to get out of there. I mean, he has to understand that he can get out eventually. And I mean, he has to understand the basics of parole, right? That the parole board looks at some things and some doesn't. I don't know. Maybe not. You're right. It's just going to keep going on forever. But I do wonder if he can realize how much this is not helping his parole chances, and how and what the parole board actually looks for when they do those hearings. Maybe he could quiet down a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I think we're going to be seeing stuff this year about whether what he did here and there is a violation of this order, because the order is kind of vague. I mean, in the petition, Mari was asking for him to be barred from directing people to third-party people to harass Meghann, and he's barred from directly or indirectly harassing her. But it's like, how do you enforce this kind of stuff? And if somebody tweets a lot or makes a video about Meghann, and they're also able to show that over the last 6 months they got Venmo payments from Tory's dad, is that enough to show that Lanez was violating the restraining order? And also, what are the consequences for this? I mean, he's already in prison. Like, there's not much of a consequence of beyond the parole stuff, because like I said, right now it's not like he's going to get more time added onto his sentence. It would be a lot to do that. So we'll see. I think this is a little small for people to read the transcript of the phone calls here. I've got them linked in the story, which, by the way, if you guys haven't read the story, I'll link it in the comments. Yeah, somebody asked, and thank you, Ken, for the super chat, and I'm glad you like the channel. I love the channel. I'm proud of the channel. I've been trying to do more with it. I really focused on the YSL trial last year, but there's so many more cases to cover. I'm going to be trying to do a lot of stuff with ASAP Rocky too. But August Alsina, he was never charged with August Alsina, and last I heard was when those emails had been publicized from between him and Sean Hawley, where she talks about a mediation next month in the August Alsina case, and that was like a couple of years ago. So yeah, he's never been charged with a crime. Somebody says DA chose not to pursue it, but yeah, he's never been charged with a crime. And then if there was some kind of civil settlement or something, it was all done privately. So I don't think we're going to hear anything else about that. But his calls with this Caesar guy, I don't know. It's like, these guys are scummy, man. I tell you, like, will the fires slow down the courts? I have not specifically heard. I mean, like I said, there wasn't. It's life seemed to be going on when I was at the courthouse yesterday, and just looking out my window right now, it looks like it did last week, and that it's a clear day. I mean, it's a little smoggy out, but you don't see the fires covering it. But the big thing, obviously, is the long-term effects of this. So many people lost their homes, and it's a lot of people in the legal community. And I mean, what do you do if you're a federal prosecutor and you have a full caseload, you're ready to go to trial next month, and your house just burned down and your kids' elementary school is gone? I mean, I think a lot of stuff like that is still like coming to fruition. So I haven't seen any like tangible differences, big notable differences. I mean, I can't imagine Rocky's trial is going to get delayed. Although if Joe Tacopina, his lawyer, lived in LA, he might try to use it as an excuse. But I haven't seen anything much like it. But I think specific people and specific judges might have their worlds upended. Because like I said, I heard one federal judge, Dean Pregerson, his dad was a famous federal judge too. But I heard his house burned to the ground in Palisades. So I mean, I don't know what cases he had this week. But I'm assuming he canceled some stuff. I mean, how would you just go back to work and like that? It's crazy. I feel bad for those people for sure. But yeah, the restraining order against Lanez. Like I said, a lot remains to be seen, but this was a really big win for her. And I think that there were some legal arguments against this, and that, I mean, the judge did note that there wasn't a real lot of evidence about really current conduct, that there was all the stuff from pre-trial that he went over, but he also said that's enough to issue a restraining order, that it doesn't matter if the conduct is 3 or 4 years old, it's still eligible for a restraining order. And like I said, I think it really mattered that Mari said that there should have been a protective order issued in place at sentencing, but it wasn't. So I think the judge just saw this as a, what's the harm here? But he did say there wasn't a lot of evidence about recent contact, because that's what Michael Hayden's saying, was that he hasn't had any recent contact conduct, that none of the phone calls show him like, plotting to harass Meghann or anything specific about that. But Meghan's lawyer was just saying that the fact that he's talking to Caesar about Milagro and ways to protect her and use her, issue the statement from Unite the People about her. Just that shows a lot of coordination there. So, Kelsey, yeah, thank you for thanks for the question. I know it's on everybody's mind, and it does feel a little weird yesterday to be just post, oh, hi from Los Angeles, here's a normal court thing that I'm covering, when it's like, what, isn't this a whole city on fire? But life goes on, and it's hard. I'm trying to figure out, like, other than just like, be supportive of people, what can I do to like actually make a difference? And I was actually thinking about calling the Pasadena Animal Shelter, because I've usually had a cat around the apartment, but I haven't had animals in a while. I haven't had a pet in a few years, but I was hearing that, one thing people can do is try to foster animals, like offer to take in somebody's pets for a couple of weeks or something. So I was thinking about maybe doing that, see what I could do. But other than that, it's just, gosh, what can you do? Yeah, exactly. Here comes drama. I should add that to the list. I think after the live, I'm going to call the Pasadena Animal Shelter and volunteer for that. Or maybe they just need people out there to do stuff or something. I don't know. But yeah, so again, it was a pretty short hearing, maybe 45 minutes. Meghann spoke, and it was a lot to hear her talk. Like, you can tell this really matters for her. And she was saying that she'd been going to therapy, but that she hadn't gone recently because she just has been feeling kind of hopeless about the whole thing. I'm like, gosh, that's sad. But yeah, Hayden, who, by the way, I mean, it's one of those things where he's a really nice guy. Like, you would want to go to happy hour with Michael Hayden, but the judge, said that he was retiring at the end of next week. So at the end of the hearing, Michael Hayden was like, Judge, good luck on your retirement, or congratulations on your retirement. He says, I'm right behind you in 20 years. He's totally that kind of guy. But he was not helping his case in here. I mean, his big focus was whether the venue was proper in Los Angeles County, which is like, you can tell he just doesn't have any experience as a lawyer. But he's saying that because Meghann is a resident of Florida and Lanez is technically a resident of Kern County, he's not in Los Angeles County because the prison that he's in is up in Kern County, which is like Bakersfield area, that Los Angeles County isn't the proper venue for a restraining order. And when he started saying this stuff, I was like, okay, I don't think this is actually like a legitimate, like, legal argument against this civil restraining order. Is this all he has, somebody said, Verta, thank you. The only thing that will fully end Lanez is if they can link him to a bot campaign. However, that's virtually impossible. Yeah, it is. And one thing that's interesting that Mari is so passionate about her defense of Meghann and her representation of Meghann. And I think Alex is too. I haven't seen Alex in court for Meghann before, but when you look at all of the harassment on this, the vast majority of like the bot accounts and stuff are on Twitter. It's X where you find all the bot, and a lot of the harassment of her is on there. So you want to talk to Quinn Emanuel and be like, if you guys are serious about like lessening the harassment of Meghann, maybe Alex could go talk to his client Elon Musk about what's going on at Twitter. It's like, it's all these bot accounts, but it's just, they're doing what they can. But Twitter is a big role in all of this for sure. But I'm kind of impressed, and maybe I'm just noticing it more, and it's just a coincidence. But we're seeing so much use of subpoenas in the legal industry. We're seeing that in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case where Blake Lively's attorneys obtained all those text messages through subpoena. We're seeing lawyers seem more aggressive with their use of subpoenas. So I'm wondering, maybe they could link him to a bot campaign, because I mean, those bots are somehow funded something somewhere, I mean, maybe they could. It sounds like he's not very smart, and his lawyer's not very smart. So, but Jen S, thank you for saying hi. Happy Friday. Yeah, I will actually absolutely try to have a good weekend. But and the replay crew, if people are watching on the replay, thanks for tuning in. But where is, let's get into, so Hayden was saying that Lanez does not want to contact these third-party bloggers. He said bloggers such as Milagro have an independent mind of their own, which I completely believe is true, but she's also being she's literally being paid by his dad, or was a few years ago. It says if they want to be pro-Tory, they're pro-Tory. If they want to be pro-Meghann, they're pro-Meghann. That's not any cohesive control. Hayden said there isn't violence today and there won't be tomorrow. He added, as far as I know, and Judge Bloom said that would sort of underscore the concern here. Hayden referred to Lanez's actions before trial as all the junk that happened, which drew a sharp response from Henderson. That is not junk. That is Miss Pete's life. And what happened to her from the time of the shooting to the time of today has been incredibly traumatizing. She's endured more than just smear campaigns, as people questioned whether she was even a victim at all. So Henderson gave Meghann the last word, and that was kind of cool to see, and said that, this is her life, and she's the one who's been suffering through this. And Meghann told the judge that Hayden had referred to her trauma as junk. And she said that's what they've been doing online. And in Hayden's defense, like I said, he's a nice guy. He's just kind of a dumbass, and he doesn't know what he's doing in court. So, I mean, it was totally insensitive what he said, but I can't imagine Michael Hayden would ever create a troll bot account to harass somebody online. But that does not excuse what he did here. Guy's just an idiot. Sorry if you're listening, Michael. But he says that is not junk. That is Miss Pete's life. This is Mari Henderson again. And Meghann says, they have tried to create a chaotic environment for me and have everybody attacking me. She said she knows that being a public figure comes with hearing a lot of people from all over the world talk about you. She said, I'm not trying to take anyone's freedom of speech away. It's the man that is orchestrating it. He's the person that shot me, and he's orchestrating people. Hayden cross-examined Meghann only briefly. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. It was like, did you not have any other questions for her? And he only focused on the fact that she lives in Florida. And Mari interrupted at one point and was like, look, we are not contesting the fact that she lives in Florida. It was really only 90 seconds of questions or something. And he just kind of got tripped up. And because he was trying to focus on the fact that she admitted in a filing in the Emilio Garcia lawsuit that she lives in Florida. And that's when Henderson's just like, yeah, we know she lives in Florida. What's the issue here? And Henderson's like, the basis for venue is where the physical injury occurred. And so Judge Bloom actually told him at one point that he needed to argue about the civil harassment stuff, that venue wasn't an issue here. It needs to be about the civil harassment. So, and this is the judge when he was saying there's a lack of evidence about recent conduct, but he also cited a ripple effect from violence. And he said, in some cases, it may be small ripples that go away with time. And in other cases, it could be ripples that grow with time. Miss Pete's testimony here seems to make clear that the ripple effect here has been significant, whether or not it is then amplified or caused by these other events that are described. So he had not yet made his decision then. He took a break then. He said it was going to be 10 minutes. And of course, it was 40 minutes or something. But just hearing him say that, it seemed pretty obvious that he was gonna issue it. He also said before this that he saw there being ample evidence of harassing conduct and that kind of thing. So it seemed pretty obvious that he was going to do it. But it made people a little nervous when he said 10 minutes and then took 40 minutes. But frankly, as somebody who covers these things all the time, I was not surprised. I'm like, Of course, he's taking way longer. And also, he probably has some personal stuff that he's dealing with. I mean, he was a Santa Monica city councilman. He probably knows a lot of people caught up in the fires. So when he was back in his chambers, he got a call or something. Like, I didn't think there was much of a chance that we were going to go back into the courtroom and he's going to be like, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm not issuing a restraining order. But still, it made people kind of nervous. Meg's Pete Tomasson Prophet is working to help animals displaced by the fire. Oh, I didn't know that. I should maybe I can work with them. Maybe they have some animals for me to foster. But it'll be easier for me to just call the Pasadena shelter, and if they do, I can easily like just drive out there or something. Yeah, the internet is worldwide. The smear campaigns are worldwide. They are, but like they're also so. I feel like in mainstream, like outside the internet, so many people have heard of Megan Thee Stallion, who have not even like heard of Tory Lanez, and I know that's. It's hard for some people to like believe that because a lot of people, of course, do know about this, but she is so mainstream in like her endorsements, her music, her TV appearances and stuff. Like she's just like, she's such a brighter light than him, you know. It's just a bummer that like I hope this year, you know, she can like it can die down and she can really like just realize like how much bigger she is than him, you know, and how much bigger she is than like Milagro and all the people who harass her online. But it's so much easier said than done, especially when, I mean, a lot of my work is based online, obviously. Here I am like online working, but so much of her work and her just, you know, with everything being on social media, it's so important to her career and job to like be on there. So yeah, the fact that there were people at her appearances shouting "Free Tory" was disgusting. Yeah, and she mentioned that yesterday. You know, there are a lot of quotes that I wasn't able to. I didn't get every single thing in there. You guys should read Nancy's story too, of Rolling Stone, if you haven't, because that's kind of inevitably how it works. When there's two reporters sitting in a courtroom, like you're going to get a lot of the same stuff, but sometimes like she's going to get a quote that I didn't, or I'm going to get a quote that she didn't, that kind of thing. So you're better served if you read the whole thing, but if you read both reports. But let me see if I can get back into one of her comments, because it started with Mari asking her questions. Mari said, "Can you please tell the court why are you asking for a civil restraining order hearing?" And she said, "I want my restraining order because I haven't been at peace since I've been shot, and I'm just tired of being harassed. The person who shot me said he's paying people to continue to harass me, and people all around the world that I don't even know. She said I probably will never have my own peace, but I really just want the harassment from the person who shot me to stop." And Mari says, "Could you please tell us what emotional distress you suffered as a result of the physical attack and the subsequent drafts, or of the physical attack?" Sorry, these are my like chopped notes, so they're a little. But she asked her to tell us about the emotional distress you suffered as the physical attack and the online harassment. She says that she was in therapy, but I haven't been because I've been feeling kind of hopeless about this whole thing. She said no matter how much people tell her she needs to get past it or it's going to be okay, it just seems like she has to relive it every day. The person who shot me won't let me forget. She says, I can barely leave my house. I leave my house for work when I have to. I'm not good at social situations anymore because I think everybody, she said, I just think everybody, because of everything he said and done about me, I'm just always nervous. My body, I've never had anxiety before this, but I'm just a nervous wreck all the time. And then Mari asked her, and why is it that you were seeking this harassment restraining order while Mr. Peterson is in prison? And she says, because even from behind bars, he won't leave me alone. I thought he would have went to jail and maybe had a moment to repent or reprieve, or realize what he did was wrong. But even from behind bars, he is still showing that he's an angry person. And I'm scared that even when he gets out of jail, he's going to still be upset with me. And I don't know if he's going to continue being bothered towards me, because even behind bars, he keeps showing me that he can get to me. Like he won't give me a day of peace. And I feel like when he gets out of jail. Yeah, she said that she's worried that he could shoot her and she won't survive. Mari says, what is your fear if and when he gets out of prison? She says, I feel like maybe he'll shoot me again and maybe this time I won't make it. So, I mean, hearing this stuff and then like I said, I think it really mattered to the judge just legally, the fact that there should have been a 10-year criminal protective order issued when he was sentenced and there wasn't. So I think the judge just saw this as it's kind of a no-brainer, frankly. I mean, and then it'll remain to be seen about what actually happens to him if he violates this and what conduct is considered a violation. But I think we're going to see that this year. But anyway, more. If you guys haven't seen the story, it's on Legal Affairs and Trials.com. But yeah, and Hayden, he said after court that this was going to happen one way or the another. And he said the bigger picture is the lawsuit against Cooper in Florida because that's a speech issue. Megan's lawyers currently have until January 13th, which is Monday, to respond to a motion to strike the complaint. So, and yeah, so yeah, so it was a pretty big win for her. I mean, I saw somebody comment online afterward that, he's now been found guilty by 2 separate courts of law. It's like, yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what happened here. And so that was when Meghan spoke originally. This is yesterday. It was like 4 minutes of talking or something of kind of questions from her attorney. And then Michael Hayden got up for cross-examination, which, like I say, it was a joke. I mean, he just focused on the fact that she's a Florida resident, which is like not even relevant to the whole thing. He didn't ask her about any of the civil harassment or anything like that. There were no additional witnesses. And this is only like 15 minutes into the hearing too. So it was actually really short. The judge was thinking it was going to take a lot longer, but it was pretty quick. So then Michael Hayden argued about how this was prior restraint and it's not about any violence in Los Angeles County. It's just restraining his speech. And he was talking about the venue issue. He kept talking about how, this is Florida. This is, or she's in Florida. He's in he's in Kern County. And the judge was just like, this isn't an actual issue. Can you please address the civil harassment claims? And and she thanked the judge. She was like, "Thank you, judge." And he had more to say about his ruling, so he was like, "Oh, I'm not done with my ruling yet." But it was kind of cool to see her thank him like that. But yeah, and that was it. Like I said, one thing that surprised me overall, and it shouldn't just because of everything I've been reading and everything that's been going on. But, when you don't see her and you don't hear her in your own words, you forget how personal this is and how it really does bother her. And, all those fake accounts who it's just some woman in a bikini is their photo and they're just talking about free Tory. The account was made in August 2024 and they say they're in Butte, Montana. I mean, these aren't real people. And it's just, it's gross how they all kind of live in that. And on the one hand, you want to say it's like just let those people have their misery, because in the end, if those people are doing that online, they are absolutely miserable offline. But it's not enough. You can't just ignore them. It's easier said than done. And they're ruining stuff. They're fucking up everybody else's mind, But I think it would be helpful for you to isolate Meg, saying she's not trying to take away anyone's free speech, just the orchestration. Yeah. So many people look to you. Yeah. There's actually a lot of stuff that I need to highlight. One thing I wanted to highlight on Twitter, because a lot of people, I mean, if you don't put it on Twitter, it's like they don't think you reported it. Like I mean, I'm trying to back away from just sharing everything on Twitter because I don't get anything out of it. You know, it's a good thing to draw links to your own website, but, you know, I want people to subscribe to my Substack and you know, go to my YouTube so I get revenue from the Google ads. I don't really get anything from Twitter, but I see your point. Like yeah, a lot of people look to you, and if you have like good nuggets like buried in there, they're not going to get that much attention if they're not drawn out. But I wanted to highlight the his lawyer saying that stuff about the cat video too. Like, that was a little harsh, shouldn't have done that, etc. But congratulations, Meghann. Yeah, Tory and his court should have left her alone. Yeah, it was definitely a really big win for sure. He will be deported back to Canada once he is done with prison. Is there a time frame on how long he has to stay out of the U.S.? I'm not sure, but I think once that happens, it'll be pretty hard for him to get back in with a violent felony conviction. And it makes sense that the USA does that. I mean, God, Canada's so strict with us coming in there. They won't let anyone in there if they had like anything on their record from years ago. So it makes sense that we kick Canadians out. Yeah, thank you forever. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to try to do a TikTok explaining everything, too. So if you guys aren't following me on there now, you should be. But again, legalaffairsandtrials.com is the website. Got a lot of details on there, and I'll try to keep sharing everything. Try to keep doing more lives too. Like I said, I'm trying to build up the channel and get more members and everything, and especially with ASAP Rocky's trial coming up, that's going to be a big one. Like I always say, that trial, in case, barely gets any attention because there's no female victim for the internet to harass. But it's going to be a big one for sure. So, and I don't think there's going to be much camera. I'm not sure. It's not going to be streamed online, but I think there's going to be a pretty big thirst for reports from the courtroom. So I'm looking forward to it. But thank you, Kelsey. Happy to provide them. But yeah, X is terrible. And there's something weird going on there. Like, I've just gotten a really weird vibe from X in the last like month. Like, Elon Musk is like up to something on there, you know, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you to the playback crew for sure. Hit the like button if you can. Give me a subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Yeah, if you guys, I need to get better about posting the link to my site, but I'll post. Here's a link to the story. legalaffairsandtrials.com. Yes, there you go. All right, guys. See you guys later. Thanks. Here comes drama. Have a great one.